It's my pleasure to be here with you today. This is my watch. This is how frugal we are in the city here. My wife told me, well, we'll go on a cruise, and they usually have them for 60–70% off, so that's my watch right now. But just so I want to make sure that we stay on time. I'd like to thank the Chamber and Deborah for the invitation, for this chance to share with you the many exciting things that are going on in the city. In a word, the state of the city is excellent. Things are going very well. I'm going to spend probably 20 minutes thereabouts sharing with you what's going on in the city, and I think at the end of that you'll agree. If we capsulize it in a word, it would be excellent. One of the things that shortly after the election, in fact before I took office, I met with many of the department heads and told them that I thought the focus of this administration needed to be exceptional customer service to business and residents and visitors. And we have a great deal in the city to draw people here. Our beautiful downtown, the gazebo, it's a natural draw. But the fact of the matter, and many of you in business, I don't have to share this with you, the fact of the matter is, though, we're in competition with the other cities, with the other regions, with the other states, and now even globally. So exceptional customer service is what's going to set Medina apart from all the other places in the world, and that's what the focus of this administration has been. I'm also going to use a little bit different format for this presentation. Those of you that have been here for the previous ones, instead of the bullet points being on the screen, because then your focus becomes on the screen and my focus becomes fumbling with this computer, the title of the topics will be on the screen, and my interaction will be more personal, I believe, with each and every one of you. So this administration, the focus on positive customer service. Let me introduce my administration to you, those of them that are here. My administrative assistant, Don Hanwell, service director, Nino Piccoli, Steve Vogel, our building official, Michael Wright, our rec director, police chief, Patrick Baraducci, Parks Director Tim Swanson, Kimberly Rice, our Economic Development Director, and Greg Hannon, our Community Development Director. We're going to talk about community development in just a minute. I think is that all the department heads here? Sometimes they slip in the back and try to hide so that I don't see them. But we also, they were announced, but I want to recognize two of our council members, Councilman Jim Shields, from Ward 4, and Councilman Brian Hilberg from Ward 1, because the administration has an excellent relationship with council, and many of these things that we're going to talk about today could not be done without a cooperative relationship between the administration and City Council. And as we go through these, that'll make a little more sense, and you'll be able to follow that. So at first what I started to look at is, I would make a list of what improvements we've done with the businesses, what improvements we've done for the residents. But then what I found when I started putting the notes together is so many of those things are intertwined with one another. So first we'll talk about those that affect both of those groups, and then we'll break it down even further into business and residential. Some of those points that are positively affecting both the business and the community. It's business friendly, it's community friendly, is to keep City Hall open from 8 to 5. We're not closing at lunch, we're not closing at 4 o'clock to clear the drawers and make sure things balance, because sometimes people get off at 4 o'clock or 4:30, and that's the only time they can get to City Hall is right before it closes. Sometimes people can only come on their lunch hour, and they need to pull a permit, or they need to sign up for services, water service, sanitation service. So it's important to me that we make sure that if the hours posted are 8 to 5, then we're going to be there for 8 to 5, and every part of City Hall is open. The second thing is accessibility of the department heads and of myself. It's not unusual at City Hall to walk in and see sometimes one, two of us, myself may be engaged with somebody from the business community, a resident, somebody with a concern. And I've had people tell me that this is an unusual place to come to, because most city halls you go to, you have to go through about 3 or 4 screening processes to talk to the service director, to talk to the council person, to talk to the mayor. Well, that's not the administration or the type of public service that I'm used to, nor that I think public service should be. We need to be there where the people can reach out to us, talk to us. So that's a big part of it, is that we're accessible, and also that we're responsive. You know, if people ask us about a concern, ask us about a need, it's important that they know that we're going to take some sort of action with that. And a good example was just in the paper. I would have rather kept it out of the paper, but sometimes these things happen, and then we deal with it. No offense to the papers. But with this fiber, trimming of the branches for the fiber loop. As soon as the service director found out that there were some branches that weren't cleaned up, we had a crew out there within minutes of the phone call, and the resident that reported it to the council person could not believe that a city could respond that quickly. That's important, that the citizens know that if you call us, we're going to react, we're going to respond. Now, I can't tell you that all things will happen that quickly. We may have a road defect, for example. We might have to put a cone or a barrel instead of bringing out a crew on overtime just for the safety of it, but we're going to get that fixed. We do recognize that it's there. We are protecting somebody from running into it and damaging their car. So the responsiveness is also a very key part of this. We created the Community Development Department that Greg's in charge of now. What that is a combination of the Planning Department, Economic Development, Zoning, and Building. What I noticed in my first year in office was that the Building Department at that time was downstairs. People would start at planning, tell them what their plans were, whether it met the code. They were sent to building for the permits. Then there were other questions back to the Planning Department. Sometimes the Building Department, you know, and these persons are going back and forth and back and forth. And our problem was we knew we needed to do this. The problem was how to reconfigure the offices to get them all together, because we didn't have a lot of extra space at City Hall. Well, we were able to move some things around, rearrange departments, and we have them all in one location now. So when the people come with a brand new project, they can talk to the building official, the planning director, economic development, and we can help them from start to finish with that project without them feeling they're being pushed from office to office. In fact, when some new businesses have come and we feel we need to meet and address any of their concerns, we've actually set up meetings with them in my office or in the rotunda or the multipurpose room, depending on the size of the group, with police, fire, economic development, planning, building, myself, so that we can show them that it displays two things. One is the interest of the city and them bringing their business here, that we're committed to it. But the second thing is they can leave that meeting with the answers to their questions. You know, are we receptive? Will it fit on this site? What kind of permits are they going to need? What are the restrictions of it? So things like that have, I think, put Medina ahead of some of the other communities in drawing the businesses in, and we're seeing the benefits of that. Another thing I asked the building department to take a look at, and we implemented it this year, is same-day permits. It did not make sense to me that some of the smaller projects, as you can imagine, people coming in, you know, we may have a major renovation to the hospital or a new school being built, but this poor person wants to put a fence around their yard or put a shed in their backyard, and it's getting in line with some of these projects where the plans literally are 4 or 5 inches deep and take time to go through and meetings to assess. So what we did is we established a same-day permit for smaller jobs like electrical upgrades, heating and cooling replacements in homes or businesses, window and door replacements where there's no structural changes, just simply putting in a more efficient window or door, basement waterproofing, and re-roofing of homes. And then we also changed, and we're doing next day permits You file the request today, tomorrow you can have your permit for fences and sheds. And the reason those take just a little bit more time is we have to make sure that the setbacks, the property lines are exactly where they're being portrayed to be. Mr. Shields and I, Jim Shields for years has done third graders. Every third grader in the city at the end of the year comes through City Hall to find out about city government, what the departments do, what city council does, and we have an exercise we go through. Since I've been mayor, I've done the administrative side, and Mr. Shields has done the council side. Well, Jim mentioned to me one of those days when we're doing these third graders that 80 to 90% of the people coming into City Hall are looking for where do I pay my utility bill, where do I get my permits, and where do I get my utilities turned on. Those three questions invariably over and over again, day in and day out. Jim saw it on the few days that he was there, but I can tell you those were the most frequently asked questions. And so Jim suggested, and we erected signs to those three departments. So when you come in the back door now, from the rotunda, you can see this is where I pay my bill, this is where I sign up for utilities, and this is where the community development department is, which includes building, planning, and zoning. Just to help people out, orient them, so they're not wasting a bunch of time wandering around or waiting for somebody to ask them if they need help. The hospital donated AEDs. Medina Hospital donated AEDs for all of our police cars, one for City Hall, one for the municipal court. The benefit of that is lives are being saved. People's hearts are being restarted. We get them out to the hospital, and they address their medical concerns. And again, that's good for the overall community. Snow plowing, we've improved the routes. During the storms, we're using less salt because it doesn't make sense to put the salt down if we're going to come back a half hour later because the snow is coming down so heavy. What we're doing is pushing the salt right back off the road again. So we've tempered that salt application based on the snow and how much snow is expected and when we expect to have to plow that street again. Today's paper had a letter to the editor, again, talking about the flower urns up by the chamber on North Court Street. I think they called them petunia barrels, but nonetheless, we've had more compliments on those flowers, and again, that's just a visual appearance of a city that cares. We care about the appearance of the city. We want to welcome visitors, and it's a warm feeling when people come here, and that was the purpose of that. The community government model was something that I took from the community policing we did when I was at the police department. And what we've done is transform that to where, if I had to describe it in a nutshell for you, so as not to take too much time, what it is everything in the city is all of our responsibilities. At least the city workers, hopefully the residents, hopefully the businesses. So that if a water worker sees a defect in the street that's going to puncture a tire or break a shock on a car, instead of the city having to pay for that because it's known to us, all of us are responsible for that, not just the street department. It used to be we had departments compartmentalized. Streets issues were streets issues, water was water, sanitation was sanitation. Now every worker in the city has been trained on what are problems, what you need to report immediately, and if we can't get that fixed immediately, as I mentioned before, we can put a cone on it, put a barrel on it, and get people working their way around it until we can get the street crew out there to get it taken care of. We've had a much more proactive approach with that, and it's worked out very well with it. Another program that we're doing is a property maintenance program. And what we did is establish bi-weekly meetings with law department, planning, building, fire, police. And what we look at is previously the police departments handling their issues, building departments handling their violations, fire departments handling their violations, but nobody's looking at this holistically. Well, the fact of the matter is the same people with the building code violations are likely to have junk motor vehicles or in their yard that the police are enforcing. And after we see that there's a pattern of conduct that's not being corrected and adversely affecting the neighborhood, then of course the law department is there to give direction on filing complaints, getting these persons before the court, and taking corrective action so that the community can be upkept as best as we can. We added carpet and improved the microphones in the multipurpose room downstairs. That's where every one of our council committee meetings are. And what we were hearing, it was a tile floor like this previously, and we only had a few microphones. By adding the more microphones and putting the carpet for the absorption, people are now able to hear those committee meetings at home that can't attend the meetings. And it's important that the public knows what their government's doing, and that was a good investment for the city. May of this year, University Hospital put a medevac helicopter out at our airport, stationed there 24/7. That's a good addition to our airport because it's jobs out there, full-time jobs, 24/7. But it's also good from the medical benefit of it. You know, there's a crash here in Medina now, Medina County, Summit County, and that helicopter is that much closer than having to come from Cleveland Metro or having to come from Akron at University Hospital. We've got it much closer in proximity to where the needs are. I shared with City Council, I told you we have a great relationship with City Council, and I shared with them the deplorable conditions of our industrial roads. They were getting worse and worse. We have a portion of our income tax money that goes for infrastructure repair, but that portion just wasn't enough to keep up with what the need was out there because they had been neglected for too long, just because the dollars weren't available. And council agreed to take out some bonds, municipal bonds, so that we could escalate the process of getting those roads fixed, and then we can use that income tax money, a portion of it, to then pay the bond payment. So it's not like it's costing any more money. We're just setting aside a certain amount of the income tax to make those bond payments. So what that means to you in real dollars is in a 2 to 3 year period, the city is going to spend almost $13 million of city money in industrial road improvements. We did the Commerce Drive extension. That's been completed now across from Mr. and Mr. Rapp's house here. That was done this year. Lake Road Phase 1, which is Lafayette Road to the south city limits, is under construction right now. That's $2.5 million. West Smith Road Phase 1 is from the railroad tracks by Plastipac to Lake Road. That's a $3 million addition, and the state was so impressed with what the city was doing with putting our own dollars towards improvements that they kicked in enough money to add a third lane out where the trucks line up at Owens Corning and Plastipac, just because of the volume and not having enough room to stack them all. The state paid for that additional third lane through the work of Kimberly getting a grant for that. Lake Road Phase 2 is going to be Lafayette Road to Smith Road. That's another $3 million. West Smith Road is going to be next year. Lake Road Phase 2 is going to be the end of 2013 into 14, and then West Smith Road from those same railroad tracks back to the Fairgrounds State Road, standard welding. That's going to be in 2014, and that's $3.2 million. In addition to that, there are some combined ODOT city projects. One I know of interest to everybody is the State Route 3 Reagan Foot Road intersection and the lack of turn lanes there. The city's commitment to that project, that's going to take place. The engineering's all done. ODOT's got the money in place. That's going to take place in 2013. The city's commitment to that is $65,000, and the rest is being funded by ODOT. In 2013, State Route 18 and 57, their entire lengths through the city are going to be resurfaced by ODOT. The city has to pay a percentage portion of that. Our portion's $565,000. Let me share this with you. That was scheduled for 2014. It got pulled sooner to 2013 because Medina City had the money for the matching funds and the other cities in the state of Ohio did not. That tells you that what we're doing is working in the city and the state seeing the benefit of that. State Route 42 and 3 from Public Square to the north city limits on both of those, That one again is scheduled for 2015, but we got our fingers crossed and we're talking to ODOT that again, if they run into cities that can't find the matching funds and they want to bump us back to 2014, we have the funds in place to get that job done. The city share on that one's about $550,000. So that's going to take the state routes, the industrial areas, as well as just the day-to-day. You know, right now we're doing Beechwood, we're doing patches on different areas, making a real investment in the infrastructure. In June of this year, the City Council approved the Community Investment Corporation, and that should be, we've got all the board members in place now. It's been filed with the state. We're hoping that promotes development in the city. We're confident that it will. And last but not least, the Christmas lights. The council approved $43,500 to do the public square with Christmas lights to create a draw downtown, other than the draw that it is already, but just people that want to come down to see the Christmas lights and stop in the stores, stop and get an ice cream, stop and get a coffee, things like that. The initial quotes were a little bit higher for installation than anticipated, so we're continuing to work our way through that, but we're confident that we can get that worked out. Now let's shift a little bit, if we can, to the business initiatives, business specific. I think it's important, and I think part of what I talked about already addresses that, but it's that we're taking action, not just talking. I mean, anybody can talk about helping businesses, anybody can talk about doing things, but I think if you look at the history of this city, prior administrations and this current administration, you know, we're not just talking about it, we're doing things to assist. As I said before, we'll put together a panel to meet with new businesses to show them the city is interested, the city is engaged, the city is willing to help them with any of their questions. We had 4 restaurants in town that needed a little piece of city property to make improvements, to improve their business by adding a patio, by adding some storage outside, by changing something. And those were presented to Medina City Council by the administration with a request to grant that revocable use permit, and all 4 of those businesses were able to expand as a result of that. And those 4 are Sully's, Medina Steak and Seafood, Time 2, and Dominic's. And for those of you that may not be familiar with it, because it's something that cities do and private industry probably doesn't get involved in it, but what a revocable use permit is, we can't give away city land. You know, I couldn't give it to you. We'd have to bid it, go through a process if it wasn't necessary anymore. But in this case, these were little pieces of land that the city wasn't using, but the restaurant would benefit from. So what the revocable use permit is a legal agreement between us and the business saying, we'll permit you to use this property, albeit city property, but if at some point in the future the city needs that property back, we have a right to pull it back upon, you know, so many days' notice to them. And that's worked out for them, and it's worked out for us. It was also brought to our attention that the performance bonds were an issue in the city. I didn't know anything about performance bonds. I can talk to you about traffic codes and criminal codes, but I didn't know what a performance bond was. And when it was explained to me that as a new business or a business trying to expand, I had to put up 100% of the project, either in a bond or in cash, to now do my expansion, that just didn't make good sense to us, because that's money now that can't be used for the expansion. So if it's $100,000 expansion, you got to give me $100,000. You're either taking a loan or you don't have much money left. So what we looked at is our history with those. We've never had to call one of these performance bonds in the history of the city doing them. So we met with the engineering department and found out that if somebody walks away from the project, let's say that they're funding, you know, illness in the family, any number of things, they just walk away from the project, all we're going to do is make it stable. You know, level the ground back out. We're obviously not going to finish the building. We're not going to pave the parking lot if they didn't pave it, because we don't know whoever's going to take it over may not want the things the way they were, right? So we reduced it from council reduced it from 100% to 25%, which gives 75% of that money back to the developer or the business owner to continue their project and puts more money in their hands. We've had meetings with the health department and the city and economic development to try to get a better handle, as well as be a witness, I guess, on behalf of the business owner, because what we're finding is, especially with food businesses, they were having some difficulty with the health department, saying, you know, this is what we want, and then it would change a little bit, then it would change a little bit, and it seemed like it was a moving target. So we've tried to engage them to have the city involved early on so that we can keep notes, make sure everybody's on the same page, everybody understands it, and we're doing these things for a good reason. And then last but not least, the city applied for was one of a few places in the state, and this was a collaborative effort with the city and the 4 townships surrounding us and Chippewa Lake for $1 million brownfield grant. It's only for commercial or industrial properties, but what that permits is these grant dollars, instead of the businesses' dollars, to be used for Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental studies, which saves them money of having to do that. In fact, we're working with the chamber right now on the chamber property to save them the dollars of having to do that yourselves. So that's working out. Residential initiatives. One thing that I wanted to see happen is that the parks are open all year long. That just made sense to me. Used to be we'd close them in, when it started to get cold in November. Part of the reason was not so we didn't have to plow and maintain them. But the fact of the matter is, in November and December and January and February, there's some nice sunny days when the pavement's dry, and people should be in those parks. And I can tell you from my police perspective, I'd rather have the law-abiding people in the parks with their kids using the parks than having the gates closed and only the people that are there to vandalize and damage the parks in there. Because if the law-abiding people are in there, they're going to call us and tell us what's going on in there. Again, that's a community effort and a community taking care of its properties. So our parks are open year-round. There may be times, if there is ice, snow, and it's not safe, we may have to close them long enough until we get it cleared off, or it warms up and it clears itself off. But the parks are going to be open. National League of Cities prescription drug program. By the city applying and becoming a member of National League of Cities, all of our residents, in fact, you don't even have to prove you live in Medina. It could be Medina Township, you could be somewhere near Medina, and they don't check that. You can get a discount prescription drug card. It gives you the pharmacies that are taking part in it, and it's generally a substantial savings for people that don't have insurance or don't have prescription drug coverage. We began last year a senior snowplow, senior military, active military, and disabled program. We had 39 participants. And again, this comes down to taking care of our most needy residents, those that can't do it for themselves. We had 39 participants. Of those 39, 15 were senior citizens and 24 were disabled. We could do those 39 in 2 hours. So I met with the service director and we talked about, do we have time to do a little bit more? Because we were using 50% of the median income. And it kind of broke my heart because some of these seniors would come in and they're $50, $100, $150 over that median income. So they don't qualify. They can't get it done. So we presented that to City Council at our last meeting here a week ago, and they've agreed in concept. We have to go back and officially vote on it. This was just for discussion, but to raise that from 50% to 65% of the median income, which creates a broader group that can then come in. And it actually this year, for example, at 50%, the one-person household number was about 22,000, and it raises it to almost 29,000. So about a $6,000, $7,000 difference there. So we think that's going to open it up for some more folks. We were approached by Feeding Medina County they approached me first about Bolivar Alley. Excuse me. Bolivar Alley, we had a water tank there. Those of you that are familiar with the city, been here for a while. And we took that tank down when we built the new tank out on Progress Drive. And it was just a grass lot that we were cutting every day. not every day, every week. So they said, we'd like to create a community garden, and it's close in Ward 1 to some of the less privileged folks that could have some benefit, plus show them how to take care of themselves, as well as being healthy food. So we gave them not only that lot, people donated the disking, the CPF, Central Processing Facility, donated the compost to be rototilled in for them, and we created that whole community garden. Well, then when we started talking about that, I thought, out there at the way scale, the city bought over 100 acres that we haven't developed into parkland yet, and it's just sitting there. That's also close to Dawn Court, Liberty Plaza, Branch Road Apartments. So we roped off another, asked them first, they agreed, 100 by 100 square area. So we've got 2 large community gardens, both of them about 100-foot squares, that the community is benefiting from that through the interest of feeding Medina County. We received a grant to extend the Roscoe Ewing Trail from Guilford to South Broadway, again, to try to encourage people without driving, push your stroller downtown, ride your bike downtown, jog downtown, come support the businesses. This provides an easy access for them to do that. We've also applied for last year and were turned down. We're pending again this year. We're keeping our fingers crossed, think it's a little more positive, to create bike lanes on South Court Street that will eventually, once the Acme property's developed, eventually tie into the Chippewa Medina County Parks Trail. What that'll provide is a mechanism to get the people from the county parks into the city, as well as our city residents and business folks, the opportunity to go out and use the county park systems in a safe manner without competing with the traffic. So we're hopeful that we can get that taken care of. April of this year, we had what was termed the Big Day of Serving, where we had over 500 volunteers, some from states away, that came here to donate 8 hours of community service. They helped, again, the seniors. Dawn sent letters to all of the people we were doing the snow plowing for, disabled, seniors, whatever. We had people that needed their sheds re-roofed. Some needed painted, some needed weeded, some needed mulch put down. They bought the supplies, and these folks all did the labor. And I'll tell you, I was out there at the closing ceremony, and a fellow that lived on West Smith, he's been on oxygen, and they came and weeded and mulched his flower bed. And he asked me, he said, because they had the kids, some of the volunteers sharing their stories of what they did that day and how they felt about that. And he asked me, do you think they would let me talk? And it broke your heart to hear that guy say that for the last 4 or 5 years, I've looked out in my yard and saw those weeds and saw that mulch that needed taken care of, but because of my oxygen level, I couldn't do anything about it. He said, now I look out the window and I'm proud of what I see with his yard. So to make a difference like that in people's lives, this was the Connection Church. Pastor Tony Miles is the one that organized this, and he met with some of the department heads from the city. The city had some projects that they helped with. These residents had some projects. And again, it's something that we came together as a community to provide this. Employee initiatives, I just wanted to touch real quickly on what we're trying to do to build the leadership and our administrative team here. One thing that I thought was important when I took over as mayor was leadership training. Again, I don't want to keep going back to it, but I came from the police department. Excuse me, and there it was just normal. When you started as an officer, you went through basic training, and then you went to radar training, then you went to accident investigation training, just on down the line. When you became a supervisor, you went to first line supervision. When you became a lieutenant, you went to command training, discipline, employee issues, all those things. Police chief, no different. We were always in training, that you had to be. But we were not doing that on the City Hall side. So we started with leadership training, basic leadership training, evaluations, employee discipline, the importance of having a record, for future things. This year we had the sexual harassment training. to have a proper record of that. We established a healthcare committee in 2010 to engage the employee unions and the city. Mr. Shields has been taking part. He's also involved with the school, so he has that perspective as well as the council perspective. But what we wanted to do is promote wellness, but also what can we do, us and the employees together, the administration and the employees together, to help control health care costs that are skyrocketing for all of us. And they've been very interested. We meet monthly. We talk about concerns, talk about issues, talk about suggestions. Through that, from 2010 till early this year, we talked about having a wellness program where they could have biometrics, have analysis, have blood tests, and find out, are you suffering from something you don't even know about it. And sometimes the insurance is good about covering it. Sometimes if you're not really sick, they're not as eager for those proactive measures. So we met with the hospital, and Dr. Tulisiak, this was one of his goals, is to establish a wellness initiative, but they wanted to have a small enough group to do like a beta study. So they picked the City of Medina because what else we were doing with the wellness. So right now, the hospital is our partner, the city, and then we got a workers' comp grant that'll help pay for some of these testing, blood tests, analysis, so that collectively with those three parts, we can do it without any additional dollars from the city, create a more healthy workforce, and also hopefully control our health care costs. We already talked about the community government model. Let's go now to, I know you're all waiting for this, financial position of the city. I'm pleased to tell you that the general fund reserve or balance right now is about 80% of the annual income. That means we have, if the income of funds stopped today, we'd have an 80% reserve to start the following year. That's a good reserve to have. Okay, generally we try to stay 25, 30% in most of the accounts. So in the general fund where we have the greatest discretion, that's a great reserve to have. The income tax, like you all, we witnessed as well, the income tax came down when the economy came down. We were adversely affected by that. In 2008, it was greater than $13 million for the city. In 2000, the city's government, in general, not just the city's, government is usually about a year or so behind business because it takes a while for that to trickle down to us. In 2010, that $13 million cut back to close to $12 million. So that's $1 million that was lost there just because of the recession. In 2012 now we're seeing it start to inch back up. It's above $13 million now, and in the last 13 months we've seen it increase approximately 4 to 6% per month each of those past 13 months in comparison to the 12 months prior to that. So that's a good track to be on. If you take the average of those, 5% of 13 million, you bankers probably have this already. Right, Ed? You on this? But for the rest of us, because I had to use the calculator, 5% of 13 million is $650,000. So if it's going up 5% for us annually, that's that much more dollars that the city has to invest in services here. We've seen the bond rating upgraded in 2010 to AA1. The interest rates right now are historically low. As a result of that, Council just recently, at the past meeting, agreed to refinance the water debt. We had a 20-year water debt and a 20-year rec center debt, and we're 10 years into those. So we didn't extend the length of the bond, but we refinanced it at the lower rates, which over that next 10 years will save us about $1 million as a result of the bond ratings and the better interest rates. So I'd like to thank you for your attention. I appreciate this opportunity to share the accomplishments. I just want you to know that we're constantly striving, not me, the department heads we're constantly looking at what we're doing day in and day out. What can we do better? What can we improve? What could we change to create more efficiencies? And I'm very proud of what they do, and I'm glad to have this opportunity to share it with you.